can see in this
Hola,
table that
Assalamualaikum, etc.
summarizes or looks
I
at
took
the level of
photos
support for anti-political
even without
establishment
makeup. I look
parties,
so
meaning
beautiful
populist,
with grandpa's
extreme,
voice, the
anti-systemic,
polarization
illiberal
video.
political
So
parties. The level of
today's
support
attack
has never, as I
was
was
from
saying, been
Wina
as
Rosa,
high
PKS
in
and
the whole
PKS
history of
was
Europe
from
since the beginning of the 20th
1972, Wina Rosa.
century,
It's
to the
clearly
point
an attack
that
because
around 1/5 of the electorate nowadays
even the name of
supports
and I don't like seeing such
electorally
videos.
this
So
kind of
perhaps
anti-political
for those
establishment
who like such
parties.
video,
And
for
this is a
example your own
trend that
communities,
we
it's
can
okay, but
see
don't force
not
that to people
just
like us
in the
because
new democracies
we want to respect
in
that video,
Europe,
but
but
we don't want
also
to watch it.
especially in Southern
I like to
Europe.
watch
You
something
can
about
see here in
like
this table
food, etc. And
after
if you
the
want to
Great
watch them
Recession, the level
and
of
you see the
support for
messages
this
are
type of
also nice.
populist anti-establishment parties was higher
So it,
than ever,
lo
but
siento if
also
my
among the
words
most
were harsh, but
consolidated
that's what I
democracies
wanted to say.
of
Just like
Western
Bitcoin
Europe.
communities, it's among them, but then when they need to transfer us,
Is
it
really
needs
a
to be
problem?
in the money
Is
currency,
this
not the
really a
Bitcoin coin,
cancer
something like this.
of
So big
democracy?
so
Is
if
this
you want to
really
watch,
leading
you want to
to
share
the
something
decline
videos like that
on the
among
part
your
of
own
democracy
communities, it's okay,
and
but don't force
the
such
collapse
to us.
of our democracies? In a
And
way,
I'm a
this
Muslim,
happens
but I don't know I'm a
in
Muslim,
the
but it doesn't mean
Union or
you
the
need to
Hungary
force
has
what
become
you
non-democratic, but clearly
make what you
there is
to
a link
others.
between
That's what
support
that's what
and
is it
voting for
called?
populist parties and
What is it?
establishment parties and the quality of
Respecting
democracy.
different
In a
perspectives.
study that
And
I
then
published as
I'm
representation
actually
in the
the
Representation
person
Journal
who
with a colleague
always
from the
remember
University,
my own
Autonomous
mistakes
University
and
of Madrid, Jose
try
Rama.
to forget
In
other mistakes, and
2020,
then
we show that
what is it?
there is a clear
Try to
negative
remember other
associative
kindness and
relationship
forget about
between
not kindness.
support for anti-political establishment parties and
Do you
the
know
quality of democracy. You can see
That's what the
here
prophet told
that
me.
it doesn't matter if you
Pero
look
sometimes
at
too much
Western
se me
Europe
escape
or
because
Eastern Europe.
what is it?
The more support for anti-establishment parties, the more support for
Inferiority
populist,
complex.
illiberal, and systemic parties.
And the
The lower the
previous
quality
video,
of
if you
democracy is.
you put
In
captions, what I
It does not
wanted to
even
say is
matter
that
if you look
Fernando
at
needs to
different
lead.
dimensions on the quality of
Don't
democracy.
use
Here
captions.
you see BDM Institute data.
I combined the languages,
Distinguish the
English,
effect of
Galician,
supporting
most
for
lovely Galician,
establishment
most
political
lovely
parties
Spanish.
and different dimensions of democracy. Electoral democracy, liberal democracy, deliberative
Gracias,
democracy,
Queen, and
participatory and
since
egalitarian
Fernando
democracy.
Grandpa is already
Of course, the
49,
first
so
might be
I will be able to use
different,
it
but
without
they all point
overthinking.
to a clear conclusion.
So we're going to do the
Support
videos
for
of putting
populist,
makeup on,
illiberal,
and then
systemic
the
and
what's it?
establishment
Beauty
party
secret and
leads
the
to lower quality
unboxing.
democracy.
These packages
Doesn't
have
matter
arrived
the
since
dimension
yesterday,
you
but
look at.
because I had
So
conflict
the
with
thing
Aga,
is,
I
yes,
couldn't really open it. I didn't
problem,
know what is inside.
connection. Nobody people
Uh,
voted for anti-democratic, at least against liberal
got
democracy parties that
appetite.
before.
I
We
look so
know
beautiful.
that this has important negative
At Grandpa, I
consequences
remember
for
when
the
I
quality of democracy. The question is,
And
what
then-
is causing this problem?
Un más again.
Only by understanding what causes
I'm
the
going to
problem,
say,
we can
and
try
Sissy,
to
don't
find
forget to
solutions to
don't
the
forget to
problem.
remember that Alan
When we
Travel
look at
so
the
very much
literature,
for
we
infinity.
see, of
Don't
course,
forget to
that
come to know and
economy
pick me up soon.
has been
Of the
considered to
countess
be
of
one
fishes
of the
and roses
problems
still going to
that,
come.
or one of the issues, sorry, that leads to the increasing level of support
You're
for
not going to
anti-political establishment parties. It is this idea that when people are having a hard time,
In the
then
face
we
of
will be
okay, Grandpa,
more,
me parece
the
súper
attention will be more
loco.
captured by those parties that offer simple solutions to what are
Why
really
else we
common
need to
problems.
put this? Because
Which are those
I
parties?
prayed
Populist parties
before
and establishment parties.
putting this after
Others
having a
think
shower
that
on a bath.
It is at the
So,
core
big
political
possibility
parties
there
itself
is
where the problem is,
dust
meaning
or
that
sweat.
it is the crisis of
That's to keep
mainstream
feels
traditional
clean.
political parties that has led
Before
to
putting
increase
makeup
of
on, we need
support
to make
of populist
sure
and
that our
establishment
space is
parties.
clean now. And
There is this
after
idea that political parties do not represent
we
us
can excel
anymore,
when they use this.
that they
The
have stopped
students,
mobilizing,
when I was students, this must
that
be the
there has
bachelor
been a
school
mutual
centuries ago.
goodwill of political parties
When I
and
didn't have
both the
time
strong
for
electoral
or
rigor.
when
Yeah,
the what is
we
it?
know that, for
Bathrooms are
example,
far
people
away.
go to vote less, people vote for different parties every time that go to vote. And as I mentioned at the
I
beginning
couldn't
of
possibly
this
do it at night, for example,
presentation,
especially when
clearly
I
they
do
both
research
produce
or
alpha
doing
that are less than
a
graft.
working group.
And this is because
Also when doing
mainstream
research, I mean
parties
after,
have
which means, and then
this
during my master's study,
public
the bathroom is very near
they have been common
in my
thread in
apartment.
the state. They
And
have
even my
become
master
representative of the
supervisor
state
was
rather
worried
than
when I did
representative of the populace.
the
And of
FW
course,
about the
both
hotel.
suboptimal.
He
For
said
a
if you
different
need to stay at
option,
home
which
because
encourages
I was
populist
having
parties that
I was diagnosed
consider
with bipolar
themselves
disorder.
to be the representative.
Just tell me. I was like, no, I don't have any problems with hotels because, but I did have problems with hotel a long time ago when I was researching
That
about
considers that
land
it is
use
social
in
change
Indonesia in that
that has led
Dajjal country. Oh
to
no,
the
I
increasing
was
level
like
of support for
from different dimension.
anti-establishment
I
political
shouted without
parties.
knowing it,
It
and
is this
me
idea that
roommate, she both
privileges
she's
are fading away,
weak
that
now. And
the process
people
of
say the whole hotel
globalization
could
and
hear me shout.
secularization have
I was researching
eliminate the class cleavage and the religious
like
cleavage that
hasta
tend to
cada
determine the way political parties relate and
Yes.
vote.
and apparently it
vote.
continues.
And this is why
So
new
and else
parties are needed
about that, I
to
hope that
represent
he's
these
not
new sectors of society
no longer
and
angry.
these
So
new interests,
about the fish pan, I
Finally, of
apologize.
course,
About the rice,
it is the idea
we
that
are still
the Great
waiting for the
Recession,
white
the
rice.
2008 crisis, came to destroy
And
the
then Shopee.
stability
Sometimes
of
I don't like Shopee
European
because
power
they
systems, not totally,
most
and
of the time
course led
I don't like
to
any
a
applications,
social,
anything that
political,
is not in favor
not
of me
only
and Fernando.
economic and financial crisis.
If you
that
want us
grew
to
up the
be
stability of
liking
the
you, then
system
you need to
and
be
all
on me
the
and
states
Fernando's side.
with this populist and the political establishment
So
parties.
first, this one, the F1 already there.
He-
Barely, I don't know.
Another study that they published in the
At the back
European
side, it had a
Political
text. I
Science
put it.
Review with my colleague José
Come
Ramos
stick
in
with this.
2020,
This what I'm from.
we look at this issue,
I was
we
a little bit
control
confused.
political factors,
There is no
and then we
subject or
find that
subject.
economy
And you
is
still
not
meant
what
Or
has
is
been
that
determined,
suspicious.
the increasing support
When
for
things,
establishment
weird
parties,
things happen.
but rather the crisis of political
Okay,
parties
faham.
and
Okay, faham, Aisyah.
changes within society. We use fragmentation, the effective number of electoral parties, to really capture the crisis of parties. The idea that the more the parties in the system, the more number of new parties in the system clearly captures the crisis of mainstream political parties.
The beauty
On the other
secret
hand, we
of
use
got
this
so many
digital
pieces.
electoral
No
volatility
wonder.
to look at
I have
changes
that
in the
beauty
electoral
part. I never
preference
really
that
felt
are determined
feel
by
that I'm
changes in
that
society.
beauty.
We, as I mentioned,
then
control for the factors, sociological factors, institutional factors, even the age of democracy, and we clearly see that it is the increase in the level of fermentation and the increase of volatility, meaning the increase in the crisis of political parties per se, and this cultural change that has led, as you can see clearly in these graphs, to an increasing level of support for anti-political establishment parties. Moreover, and we test also the theory about the big crisis,
Nice.
the Great Recession. We
Excellent,
look
that
even
any
at
powder will
the
do.
effects of
Pero
another
I
important
choose
economic
this,
crisis, the
not
Great
only Rose and
Depression
F.
in 1920.
It's
We
to take
find
care
that
of
the
my
Great
mind.
Depression did not have an effect.
That means
in
no
the
one
level
will
of
be able
support
to
for
take care of
establishment
so
parties.
mind and
The
others.
2008
But
Great
I mean,
Recession,
I think
you can see in
the
this
role of
graph,
property sellers, whoever it is, okay,
not so much as a cost per se
is also
of
to
the increasing
delay
support
the
for
mental health
establishment parties, but
hospitals
as
or
a trigger,
clinics
as a
from the
fuel
universe. Do you know, okay?
fire of the
Because
crisis
you
of
can actually,
parties
we
and
can actually
social
make the
change.
cure ourselves
You
at
see in this graph on the left
places that
that before the
we
Great
prefer to
Recession
wherever it is.
was already
Offices,
an
casas,
increase in the fermentation of
those
our
health
European power
institutions
system.
are
And of
only
course, there was
taking
already
money
the crisis
from
of political parties candidated
people like
even
us or from the
before
government
the
to buy the
21st
medicines
century. But
produced
it
by
is
them.
only
For example, the
after the Great
disinformation come
Recession
from Russia
that
or
this crisis
you know, and then they, at the same time they
more
make
important.
the
And of
medicines.
course leads, as we know,
Like
to
one
the
of the
increasing level
ladies
of
from
support for establishment parties. And the same
their countries
we can see on the graph where there is a bit of an
recently
increase in
opened
electoral volatility
uni-
before the
not
Great
university,
Recession,
was
but it simply
hospital in
explodes
Thailand.
after the
But then at the
Great
same time,
Recession,
they opened
leading,
hospital, they
of course,
provided
to
medicines
the
as well as, and
increasing
they made
support
us
of
sick at the same time.
anti-political parties. So
For
it's not
other
so much
hospitals,
because
general hospitals, it's
complement
inevitable. But
to
I
what
think
has
for
been main
mental health,
causes
it's something
of
that we can take care from
increasing
at least
support
no
for
zone,
establishment
casa, no
parties,
zone, office,
increasing polarization,
no zone.
which is the crisis of political
And as I
parties
said,
and
indeed,
social change. So now that we know what are the causes
I'm a hard worker myself.
the support for the establishment
But I need
parties,
to make sure that
we can say that in reality,
one place can't be that
the
safe.
rising support for the establishment
At least
political
for
parties
myself,
is not the cancer,
to be
it's not
safer
the
in
sickness.
mind, which means
It
it's
is
not
the symptom.
the AB Dajjal
It is the
countries,
symptom
e.g. Canada.
of a more
It's
important
not
problem,
AB
which
Dajjal
is
cities like
the crisis
Jakarta, because
of
I don't want to be with
nation.
Amin Abdullah or Hulia di Santos or the Dajjal.
So
I only want to
polarization
be
is
comfortable.
due to the crisis of traditional political
Even God
parties.
allows
And it
so
is
much
here
for me.
where I'm going to propose
Because
a
Fernando loves me.
possible solution to
As
the
simple
problem.
as that.
Before, of course, analyzing some of the
Through the
solutions
madness.
that other scholars have,
Right,
suggested.
Grandpa,
Following this medical method,
Ah, very soft.
that we are certain that we need to treat a very important sickness, the cancer of political party. So what do surgeons do?
I said I
They,
excellent to learn
in case
this
of cancer,
from.
remove
I never
the
applied. It
tumors.
was not
Remove
excellent that
those
Or is it?
parties, in our
I
case,
practiced
that
at the
are
time.
problematic for democracy. We know, as you could see, that the level of support for the political establishment parties is related to, of course,
I'm
the
trying to
low quality of
use a
democracy
little bit more
in our
serious lipsticks.
European
It's
countries.
almost zero.
So in our case, as to the patient,
So I bought
the surgery could be the provision and the value
Focalure.
of the political establishment parties.
Yeah, it's just
Here we have,
Like
some,
the-
of course, let's say,
by-
ethical, moral issues.
color.
Should a democracy ban political parties?
This one is
We
very
have
cheap.
even a legal issue.
The lipstick I
Political
bought
parties.
in
Can
Indonesia
political
that
parties be banned? The European Constitution.
because regardless what, for example, recall one or whatever it is, I have my brain
final
calculating
solution
almost
only
everything
as
correctamente.
you
So
know,
when
last
I make
measure
mistake,
to
I will
defend
say it
democracy
just like the
can
fish
parties
pun I
be
forgot,
banned.
just like the rice. But when I do not do, I
are
do
in
not own
favor of
my own
banning
mistakes.
political
I will not
parties,
confess.
as
I will not
established. But the
admit
problem
it
is
because
that
it's not my
for
mistake. I did not do that something.
prohibition of
So
parties to be effective, it
to know
needs to last.
right, Grandpa.
For some time. If it is lifted after a couple of years, it will not work.
So
When we
for
look at
those who
history,
could
we see cases,
control
successful cases
themselves.
of banning of political parties. For example, in Germany, in the 50s, the Communist Party
What is
and the neo-Nazi Party were banned, and we know that political parties flourished and democracy consolidated in
Better
Germany. Similar
to
in
forget
Finland in the
other
30s when the Lapa movement was
mistakes.
banned. But for example,
I
Turkey
remember
is
yours.
one of the countries that
But
have
for me it
banned
becomes
most
theoretical.
political parties in
So
Europe.
for those who could
15
control
between
the
1945 and 2017.
shares different
And
perspectives
nowadays,
for up
Turkey is a
different
liberal
I
democracy.
know.
The same we can say in the case of the Basque country,
And
where
then for
the banning of
those
Batasuna was
who
lifted after certain years, and the party system is now going to change, and the level of polarization has increased.
as for
The second
kindness,
measure that the
it will be
surgeon
better
would
to
recommend for cancer is chemotherapy. In our language, political
remember
science
other
would be the
kindness
famous
and
cordon
forget about
sanitaire,
yours.
as the
That
French
one is
call
easy.
it, the discrimination of populist illiberal parties. The problem here, once again, is that we need
As
to
that is my
keep this
principle since I
discrimination
knew it.
alive.
I found it
We
when
need
I
to
was in the
apply,
senior high
you know,
school. I
two
guess I was
different,
reading something
levels. So if
at
we
the
do
late
it
grandma's
for just a couple of years, and then
which
we
is already sold and
do
becomes
not discriminate.
discussed.
If we do it at the national level, but we don't do it at the local level, at the end, it will not work. Moreover, the discrimination will just play in the discourse of populist parties, because if traditional parties discriminate populist parties, they will
And the word
become
whatever, it
an
is
outsider.
acceleration.
So they will simply confirm
I mean, at the
the
end, you are.
typical discourse of
I mean, I
populist
love
and establishment
not
parties,
saying very
that they are
more
the
than
real representation of the
sometimes I love
people,
this
that they are the outsiders,
I
that
don't
the
want to
corrupt
be
elites are taking
marrying someone I
and
know.
are discriminating, are eliminating from access to power. So they will become martyrs, and we know martyrs are popular, and this discrimination will only lead to increase the level of support for an establishment party. When we look into history, we see, of course, cases where the cordon sanitaire
And
worked.
when I
Think
was
of
down,
Czechoslovakia, it
you
would be
should
the only
see
Eastern
Fernando's
European
eyes in the
democracy
Habibi
that
Center.
survived. We
His
had
eyes
the
were
famous
open.
Tenka, 5 parties in the
Let's
middle of the
Como
political
bad
spectrum,
attacks have
socialists,
been.
nationalists,
Just in
liberals,
case you
the
don't.
agrarians, and the conservatives. that they will always colligate together, discriminating the communists on the left and the Nazis on the right. In Italy, during the so-called First Republic, similar thing with the discrimination of the communists on the left and the fascists on the right. These two democracies consolidated, these new democracies, we can say, that managed to survive. But for example, we have cases, like in France, where the cordon sanitaire clearly didn't work. The cordon sanitaire was, exercised or employed to discriminate the Front National. Most probably in the next elections, Le Pen will win, or at least has had a clear chance to win the presidential elections. The same we could say with the Flemish party in Belgium. The third possible solution is that of a hormone therapy. In our language, it would be the reconciliation. This idea that you can beat them, join them. You could do it by incorporating the policies of the populists, like the Conservative Party with Brexit, or by forming a coalition with them, like in Spain. The problem is that this will not lead, as some scholars have stated, to the moderation of the populist and establishment parties, but to the radicalization of the mainstream
Most
parties.
of the times when I put this on, it's because I need to go out either for collecting clothes or
Spain, which now
shopping, or just to make me a little bit better, feeling a little bit better, and so I will be able to see me a little bit better.
In cases of success, we have, for example, in Italy, when Berlusconi tried to bring
yesterday, the blessing which
into
was
the
the love
Casa di Popolo, the Alleanza Nazionale,
but it makes
really radical party
that
that led to Finnish party disappearance. We have had also in Ukraine, where Svoboda was incorporated into the coalition and disappeared, but of course, we have cases where this was not the case. Italy itself,
and something wrong, something odd wrong in the
considered a radical party
in the
government, and needless to say, Poland, where the coalition government of law and justice in 2005 with two populist parties, self-defense, and a league of Polish families, led to the situation that we had from 2015.
I didn't say someone is wrong. I said something is wrong.
Elections
Because
where
when we separate ourselves from
radical right,
then we will be able
and
to
undermine
blame
the quality of democracy.
less
And we know
ourselves or
every
others.
time that the level of support for radical right
What
parties
you need to do is just to
radical
separate the eyes,
and the
all
political establishment
it's
parties
surrounding
in
us, and
general,
blame them as simple as that. So you will be able to
there's a level
blame
of
anyone.
The final and the solution that I propose is that of regeneration, a kind of stem cell therapy. The diet of political parties, which could consist of different elements. These are, of course, not the only ones. There are many others that we could consider. The first one is that important that political parties invest in their institutionalization, in their organization. Political parties have, especially mainstream parties, have forgotten how important it is to have strong organizations, how important is certain type of traditional campaigns, door to door. It is important that political parties do not think that they can win elections with just a tweet. It is important that political parties invest, as I said, in their institutionalization. Of course, they should be more responsible. If you want to track, or at least reconquer, the political trust, the trust of voters, you need to be responsible.
Really to get something with pink. Well, Thailand, this lately have been receiving, had been receiving also from the Dajjal cities. I call it Dajjal because it feels like attack, but as I said, if you are in a zone of innocence and listen to these, just
it is important that political parties are also responsible.
Most of the things I order
they do not
are
have to
expensive for
follow into the outbidding techniques
Dini
of
Bértoa
populist parties that
and Dini
promise
Bértoa.
the moon, to everyone.
I know what everyone is trying to do. They want to
mainstream
change
parties
the name of
know
the
what is possible and what is
including the
not.
winner
And they
of
have
70
Stop promising things that they can
including Shopee.
in order to
I don't want
their
to
faith.
because I love
It
finance.
depends also the political parties are transparent in terms of the decision making, in terms of selection of leaders, but of course in terms of the finances.
Sen biz gibi çok
heavy
güzel.
horses of
I
the
did not
parties, the way that they have managed to win elections and get into government is by, attacking mainstream
Last
parties
night
for
I
being
opened
corrupt.
the message
That's
a
why
little
it's so
bit late because
important
we
that
put up to
mainstream
this.
parties establish rules for the financial transparency of their elections.
Oh, napkin.
They need to be by example.
Cleaning up.
Already mentioned, it is very important that
The short time.
they
Couldn't
use
possibly.
their role in society to
What is it?
educate voters. I think that the educative function of political parties has been forgotten. It is also important that they establish long-term
Possibly take video. Last night,
policies
one
and
of them
perspectives.
asking
It's not about the
unpopular.
next, television show.
For me,
It's not the next.
when needed to return and refine, sometimes this lady is girl. I mean, forget the other one is that one. Sometimes.
That there are compromises between mainstream parties. There are certain topics that should be compromised, that they should reach a negotiational compromise, like for example the pension system,
Ah, you're right.
immigration,
Hey, that the white
education. It is
That's
not
right.
good when every time that there is a new government, the education law is
I
changed.
started
And finally,
Okay.
and most importantly perhaps,
the
we need
TV.
that mainstream parties do not fall
Because
for the acts of
I want to eat the
and the
brown
populist and
rice.
establishment parties that consider that democracy is a single sum game, that they are the only representatives of the people and the only ones that are legitimized to be government. Mainstream parties need to understand that
The
alternation
roast
is at the
I
core
ordered from
of
different shop and
representative
this
democracy.
time
So they
it has
shouldn't try
taste
to
of like
change
different taste, a
institutions.
little bit more. I
They
said,
shouldn't
oh,
try
so I
to,
started to taste of roast.
cap freedom, media freedom,
See?
and
Okay,
other
I said, oh.
possible changes in order
You
to avoid the
sound like
opposition to come to
putting it
power.
all like
Because at the end of the day, one day they will be out of opposition, and they will
in
likely
order
be
not
treated fairly.
not to make
And
me
that's why
liking rose, or
democracy
in order
is not
to
a
make
serious matter.
change the meaning of rose.
So,
I just don't like it.
using once again the metaphorical
Only
expression, you can say that
Kingfisher!
we fall into the denial
With the green.
of polarization and the rise of populism. Because at the end of the day, what we would do is to ban the political parties.
And
we see
actually,
that,
we are
banning
developing
doesn't work.
those on make
We
me
shouldn't get
for
angry with them
staying
as a
together
team
in
later,
Casa.
because we
Long
see
time
that the
ago,
corruption is
I
we should also not
Long
bargain
time
with
ago,
them,
I
neither in
shared
terms of
links
accepting their
from
policies and ideas, nor even
for
into
grandpa
cooperating into anything
and
government.
it
Because
was
we
even
saw that
criticized by some.
Vietnam,
I need to eat
we are
something.
growing rapidly.
I need to eat
We
the
have,
same. It's
of
like
course,
it feels like we're regulated.
academic
Nonetheless, at the same time, when I do not do it,
age of the
they
press,
attack me and I'm like, I do not care about what Fernando is. Like something like
I think
When-
that, we need to accept that we have a problem. We need to understand
Me,
why we have a problem.
priority,
And only
priority
then
to
we
make
can,
Fernando safe.
apply the necessary.
Can all of this protect Fernando
So in conclusion,
and bring his time
we
with
have a
his
problem.
husband.
you don't know about it. The problem of populism, the problem of the rise of anti-political establishment parties. We have, of course, the crisis of traditional political parties, the crisis of
Oh, perhaps because the
But I think that like all the builders, political parties also
sometimes they
have
say Foucault, eh?
the possibility, the inner power and protection
That's
to
shocking.
come with a solution to the
Foucault.
problem. Because they are the problem. And therefore, if they regenerate themselves, if
Guys,
they
that's
perform a
watching.
change according to some
Love.
of the
Dini
issues that I
Bértoa
mentioned in
from
this
the
presentation,
series.
democracy will be safe and the quality of democracy will be higher and polarization. Thank you.